This is the World Organic News for the week ending 1st of April 2019 at John Moore reporting. Decarbonise the air and recarbonise the soil. As I think I've said before, the paradox of ecological systems is the seeming contradiction that the more complex the system is, the more stable it becomes. The problem we face is this: ecological systems are not mechanical. This takes some getting used to. We are living in a society still based upon the wonders of engineering, sort of hangover from the Industrial Revolution. That we are in the midst of the IT revolution should lead to different understandings, from the mechanical to the network, so to speak. To that end, a more complex, in inverted commas, agricultural system will be more resilient. Think of the internet design. Its function is generally to connect 2 points, a host and a searcher. The best way to do so is not always the shortest distance. The system was designed to function after a nuclear holocaust. It will therefore keep taking side routes until a connection can be established. There is no centre. This is worth remembering. In nature there is no centre either. Energy flows through ecosystems in a manner more like the WWW than an internal combustion engine. And in an internal combustion engine, if a piece is removed, things start to deteriorate. Even if it's just the oil cap, given time, the engine will cease to function. In an ecological system, say a forest, removing an old-growth tree actually allows for the rebirth of other species in the space provided. This leads in a roundabout way to our first post this week from the site Floratube, entitled "Forest Garden with 500 Edible Plants Could Lead to a Sustainable Future." As you can guess from the site name, Floratube, it is a video-based site. Yet there was some text as well, and I'll quote: "This type of agroforestry mimics natural ecosystems and uses the space available in a sustainable way." UK-based Martin Crawford is one of the pioneers of forest gardening. Starting out with a flat field in 1994, his land has been transferred into a woodland and serves as an educational resource for others interested in forest gardening. End quote. Martin then makes a valuable point in the video that I'll paraphrase. "It's not the slowly increasing temperatures that cause plants trouble, it is the sudden extreme events like storms, winds, floods and droughts." End of paraphrasing. You can see in your mind's eye the effect of, say, flooding on a wheat crop or hail damage in an orchard. What Martin is advocating for is a food forest. He explains his system without the use of the word permaculture, but he is describing a temperate climate food forest as per permaculture. And in a sense, it doesn't really matter how we get to the solution, just that we do. The accompanying video is only 3 odd minutes in length, but I would highly recommend you have a look. There's a link in the show notes. And now from the blog, Loving Health and Wealth, comes the post, Food Forests and Why You Need One. Quote, "A food forest is a place to grow vegetables, fruits, nuts and berries year long. You can also grow herbs and plants for medicine. Eventually your food forest will become perennial, so you do not have to keep replanting each year. Food forests have many levels of canopy and high biodiversity. A food forest mimics a forest ecosystem but has edible trees, shrubs, perennials and annuals. A successful and abundant food forest can take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to grow." End quote. The key word, as I understand the process, is succession. This is where land left alone will proceed through a series of plant types until it reaches a maximally complex system for the climate. Across the steppe, the pampas, the prairies and the Serengeti, this is usually a grassland-based system. Yet there is so much more than just grass. There are many species of grasses, true enough, but also legumes, herbs, scattered trees in places, and, as we now know, huge underground complexes of fungi connecting the plant roots. When we move to damper climes, and that's covered in the video mentioned before, land left unsupervised, that is, left alone to do its thing, becomes deciduous forest. That being so, and we understand to some extent the processes of succession, we can affect the final shape of the forest by using food plants to create the system we prefer. As ever, hubris needs to be guarded against, but the process is reasonably well understood. From grasslands with grazers were removed, sheep, goats, cattle and horses and so on, then shrubs start appearing out of nowhere, apparently. These are followed by pioneer species of trees. In the European context, this is things like the hazelnut, and in Australia and I suspect Southern Africa with acacias. These are followed by larger, longer-lived types until a canopy is filled and individual trees come and go. We can choose from a huge variety of apples, even more pears, some hardy stone fruits, as well as the traditional forest trees. Oaks produce acorns for pigs, beech masks for the same pigs. In eucalypt forests, food is a different proposition. They can and do produce huge amounts of material for bees, as well as their timber, as do all the other post-pioneer species. As a mature thing, forests, and by inference food forests, have about 7 layers according to Martin in the video. High trees, shorter trees, shrubs, low-growing perennials, ground covers, root crops and climbers. Getting to this setup with all 7 layers takes time. 5 years seems to be a minimum. I could see a situation where abandoned land could be treated with food plants, could be tweaked with food plants, the time frame shortened, but not by much. I realise I've been thinking about a succession process on our current block. It is currently pasture, old tired pasture, with the ground covers blackberry trying to take over. We're using the pigs to deal with that as we renovate across the place. But at least one tree layer appeals on a deep level. I'm probably going to go with a mixed species set of hedgerows, but a food forest is something to consider, I guess. And on that note, I'll draw this episode to a conclusion. Decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil. Podcasting checklists are still available over at John Moore Podcasting Services, link in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.